Before we were history, we were meat. Picture a small band moving through the edge of an African morning. Not kings. Not builders. Not the owners of the earth. Just bodies. Bare feet in dust. Children held close. Adults listening harder than they speak. Something has fed here before them. The grass is pressed down. Bone splinters lie near a patch of shade. A larger predator has already taken the best parts, and other scavengers may still be near. The humans wait. They look over their shoulders. They are not the terror in this landscape. They are one more anxious species trying not to become food. Now imagine Earth from orbit. Cities burn gold on the night side of the planet. Rivers have been bent. Forests have been cleared. Animals live and die inside systems built for human appetite. Satellites pass overhead like mechanical stars. The same animal did this. That is the puzzle at the heart of Sapiens. How did an ape that should not have mattered become the most dangerous force on Earth? The ape that shouldn't matter. The first shock is that humans were old before history began. Long before money, cities, writing, kings, gods, borders, and science, there were animals in the genus Homo. They walked, ate, feared, bonded, competed, raised children, and died. They had bodies recognizably close to ours. They may have loved, sulked, played, mourned, and fought for status. But for a very long time, they did not reorganize the planet. That matters, because humans usually tell the story backward. We begin with ourselves as the obvious destination, the species that writes books, builds rockets, and names geological ages after its own damage. From there, the past can look like a corridor built to lead to us. But the corridor is an illusion. For most of the story, humans were not the main event. Homo sapiens is not an orphan species dropped from the sky. We are an ape. A great ape, close enough to chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans that our myths of separateness start to look less like truth and more like discomfort. And the family was once much larger. For thousands of years we have lived as the only human species, so the word human feels like it belongs only to us. But that is a recent loneliness. The older world was more crowded. Neanderthals in Western Eurasia. Homo erectus across parts of Asia. Denisovans known first through a fragment of bone and a genetic surprise. Small-bodied humans on Flores. Other names, other bones, other branches. The old ladder image is wrong. There was not one hero species climbing neatly toward us. Several kinds of human occupied the earth at once. Some were stronger than sapiens. Some survived in cold landscapes. Some lasted for astonishing stretches of time. Homo sapiens was not the obvious winner. That is the first turn. Humanity was never only us. The next mistake is to assume that intelligence was always an advantage. In a world of cars, phones, medicine, satellites, and machines, a large brain looks like the perfect gift. But evolution does not pay in compliments. It pays in calories. Brains are expensive tissue. They need fuel, protection, and time. For an early human on the savannah, a bigger brain did not arrive with a university, a hospital, and a supermarket. It arrived inside a vulnerable body that still had to find food, avoid predators, and raise children. So the big brain was not a crown. It was a bill. That bill showed up everywhere. A skull became harder to carry. A hungry brain competed with muscles and digestion. More time had to be spent searching for food. And for millions of years, the payoff was not obvious. Early humans had tools, yes. They had hands capable of delicate work. They had social lives. But they were still not masters of the food chain. A human hand cracks open a bone after the powerful animals have left. Not a conqueror. A latecomer. Humans may have taken marrow from carcasses because marrow was one of the rich foods still hidden after lions, hyenas, and other carnivores had finished their part. It is not a flattering origin, but it is a useful one. The animal that now farms the planet may once have waited its turn at someone else's kill. Then comes the body bargain. Walking upright freed the hands. It lifted the eyes. It made distance visible. Hands could carry, throw, signal, shape, and eventually make tools that made other tools possible. But upright walking also bent the body into a compromise. Backs hurt. Necks strained. Birth became dangerous. Human infants are born unfinished. They cannot stand, run, feed themselves, or make sense of the world. A newborn horse is already negotiating gravity. A newborn human is a long-term project. But this weakness became a strange advantage. If babies are helpless, mothers cannot do everything alone. Survival demands help. It asks for grandparents, siblings, neighbors, alliances, memory, teaching, and trust. A human child is born early, then finished by culture. That is one of the quiet reversals in the chapter. Some of our power grew out of our defects. The big brain forced social dependence. The helpless child made cooperation matter. The open, unfinished mind could be shaped by stories before it could defend itself against them. The same creature that can be taught to hunt, cook, and care can also be taught to obey a king, die for a flag, worship a coin, or believe that an imagined order is more real than the person standing next to them. But before language becomes the great weapon, there is fire. Fire is the first great escape from the limits of the body. A lion's power is still mostly lion-shaped. Teeth, muscle, speed, hunger. An eagle can ride the air, but it cannot redesign the sky. A human with fire is different. A small body can hold a force larger than itself. At first, fire is warmth. Light. A line between the camp and the dark. A way to push back the eyes beyond the circle. Then it becomes a tool for landscapes. Smoke moves through brush. Grassland appears where thicket had been. Animals are driven, roasted, exposed, frightened. The world begins to respond to human intention at a scale no hand could manage alone. Inside the body, fire changes the terms of eating. Cooking softens food. It kills many parasites. It opens calories that would otherwise be harder to reach. It reduces chewing time. It may help explain how some humans could support large brains without carrying the same digestive burden. This should be held carefully. Fire was not a single magic switch that created humanity. The evidence is debated, the dates are complicated, and the story is not one neat invention. But fire shows the pattern. Humans become dangerous when they learn to command forces outside themselves. A flame is not a city. It is not a factory. It is not a server farm drawing power through buried cables. But it is an early sign of the same strange human habit, taking energy that does not belong to the body and making it obedient. That is the third turn. Human power begins when the body stops being the limit. By the time Homo sapiens begins spreading widely beyond Africa, the world is not empty. Other humans are already there. This is where the opening chapter becomes less comfortable. What happened when sapiens met them? For a long time, there were two clean stories. One said modern humans replaced older human populations. Another said the populations mixed. Genetics has made the clean version harder to keep. Many living people outside Africa carry traces of Neanderthal ancestry. Some populations carry Denisovan ancestry as well. The family tree did not branch like a tidy diagram. It crossed back over itself. But the traces are small compared with the disappearance. The other human species are gone. That absence is one of the great silences in the story. It may have involved climate, competition, disease, lower population numbers, direct violence, or some combination no one can reduce to a single cause. The honest answer is not certainty. It is unease. Because once Sapiens appears in a region, other humans often vanish from the record. Here, cheap villainy and easy absolution both fail. We do not need to say, Sapiens murdered them all. The more disturbing point is that our existence as the only remaining human species is not natural proof of superiority. It is an outcome. It has causes. Some may have been ugly. Imagine a world where Neanderthals survived. Would our religions have counted them? Would our empires have taxed them? Would our laws have protected them? Would our museums display their tools as another culture's work, or as an extinct curiosity? Would the sentence "all humans are equal" have included more than one species? The question is not science fiction. It exposes the moral convenience of being alone. When there is only one human species, the boundary between human and animal can be made to look clean. If another human stood beside us, close enough to recognize and different enough to unsettle us, that boundary would be harder to defend. So the chapter leaves us with a missing crowd. Not the triumph of Homo sapiens, but the empty space where other humans used to be. An animal that should not have mattered became an animal that nothing else could ignore. But not because it was born noble. Not because evolution was aiming at us. Not because the first humans were already wise. Sapiens became powerful through bargains: brain for calories, hands for pain, childhood for dependence, fire for danger, cooperation for control. Each bargain made the species more capable. Each also made it more unstable. By the end of the first chapter, the mystery is sharper than it was at the beginning. Big brains, hands, babies, tools, and fire all matter. But other humans had some of these gifts too. Neanderthals had brains. Erectors had endurance. Other human species had tools, bodies, memory, and time. So why Sapiens? The answer Harari points toward is not a stronger jaw, a sharper claw, or a bigger muscle. It is language. Not merely the ability to warn others about a lion. Many animals can communicate danger. The stranger power is the ability to speak about things no one can touch: spirits, tribes, promises, debts, laws, ancestors, borders, gods. Fire made energy obedient. Language would make strangers believe the same invisible things. And once Sapiens could do that, a weak ape could become something far more dangerous than a predator. It could become the author of worlds.